Welcome to today's deep dive. Picture this. You're raking leaves in Aunt Green's organic kitchen garden. Just, minding your own business.
Right, a nice peaceful afternoon.
Exactly. And then suddenly, this massive chestnut-colored beetle plummets out of the canopy and just thuds into your leaf pile like some clumsy armored paratrooper.
Oh, man, yeah. That abrupt end to a peaceful afternoon is, well, exactly the scenario that characters Kesser and Steen face in the source material we're looking at today. They're just doing some yard work when they're ambushed by a cockchafer beetle or the May bug.
The May bug, right. And our mission today is to figure out exactly what they learned from that encounter. We're unpacking the wild biology, the intense garden drama, and the truly bizarre history of this specific insect, taking you from a simple backyard discovery all the way to, historical plagues.
It's a fascinating trajectory, honestly. Visually, the cockchafer is striking. Up close, it sports this jet black chest, glossy red-brown wings, and these very distinctive white side triangles.
Yeah, and the antennas.
Right. The most prominent feature, at least on the males, are those massive fan-shaped antennas.
They look exactly like sweeping radar dishes. It's wild.
They really do. But those aren't just for show. That fan structure massively increases the sensory surface area, allowing them to catch microscopic pheromone molecules on the wind.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they are literally smelling a mate from miles away. Plus, at twilight, they emit this incredibly loud, helicopter-like buzzing.
I can just imagine Kesser and Steen freaking out over that. But here is the paradox they run into. The adult beetles just heartlessly graze on oak leaves. Yet, the second you look up cockchafers online, you're slammed with aggressive pest control tactics.
Yeah, it's intense.
Why the panic over leaf eater?
Well, because the adult is really just the noisy victory lap of a much more destructive life cycle. The real botanical sabotage happens underground.
Or the grubs.
Exactly. The larvae spend an astonishing 3 to 4 years entirely subterranean, systematically devouring plant roots before they finally pupate and emerge in May.
4 years? That's incredible.
Which brings us to the collateral damage. That underground buffet explains why you'll see crows and badgers completely shredding perfectly manicured turf. They're hunting that massive subterranean biomass.
Yeah, Kesser actually jokes that their pristine lawn ends up looking less like grass and more like a motocross track for Mars rovers.
That is such a great way to put it.
Nature is basically strip mining the yard for protein. But I'm really struggling with the modern organic gardening advice here, specifically Steen's dilemma with the trendy no-dig method.
Ah, the raised beds.
Yeah, the whole point is to preserve the soil structure by not tilling it. But if you refuse to turn over the soil in your raised beds, aren't you essentially just building a protected, predator-free incubator for a 4-year grub gestation?
It sounds like an absolute paradox, I know. But organic doesn't mean passive. Oma, another character in the garden, solves this over a cup of tea by deploying active ecological management.
The chicken tractor, right.
Yes, the chicken tractor. Instead of you wrecking the soil structure with a shovel, you let chickens or wild birds systematically scratch up just the top layer before planting strawberries.
So they act as a biological filter.
Exactly, intercepting the pests without destroying the bed's integrity.
You just subcontract the excavation to the birds. Brilliant. But while the chicken tractor handles the subterranean threat, getting rid of the adult beetles above ground is a whole different ballgame, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Entomologist Professor Hendricks details some incredible survival mechanics they've evolved against aerial predators.
Like their acoustic defense mechanism, which is just a perfect example. A cockchafer in flight can actually detect the high-frequency sonar squeaks of echolocating bats.
And it's not a conscious decision either. It's an instantaneous neural reflex.
Wait, really?
Yeah, the second those high-frequency pressure waves hit their auditory receptors, they just fold their wings and drop like a stone out of the sky. It breaks the bat's targeting lock immediately.
That is mind-bending. But what's even crazier is scaling that individual survival tactic up to a population level. I mean, we think of these as solitary, noisy gardening visitors today.
Right.
Historically, though, they swarmed in such apocalyptic densities that they would strip entire European oak forests bare.
The sheer biomass is staggering. Farmers used to follow the plow and collect tons of the larvae just to use as pig feed.
Tons. That's wild.
And they didn't waste the adults either. They gathered them in massive sacks and boiled them down to make fertilizer.
And the chemical yield of that fertilizer was off the charts, wasn't it?
Oh, it rivaled global supply chains.
Yeah. That beetle fertilizer was so rich in nitrogen and phosphorus that it actually equaled half the economic value of all the guano being imported to Europe from South America.
Which is why that historical context is so crucial. The invention of modern agricultural chemicals and intensive farming effectively crashed their populations in the mid-20th century.
So a creature that was once a continent-wide plague, scooped up by the ton, is now relatively rare.
It is a massive ecological whiplash.
Which brings us to the takeaway for you, the listener. We've seen how quickly humanity can reduce an apocalyptic, forest-leveling swarm into a quaint, buzzing garden oddity.
Yeah, it really puts things in perspective.
It leaves you wondering, if a species so overwhelmingly abundant that it fed continents and rivaled global trade can be nearly wiped out in less than a century, what other common backyard insects are quietly living on borrowed time?
Something to mull over next time a bug drops into your leaf pile.